If you've been watching me for a while or come to my live streams, you probably already know that I do read middle grade books, which usually have a target audience between the ages of 8 and 12. So, not necessarily middle school age. You may also be asking, who am I? Well, I am the Booktube goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. Now, I used to include middle grade in Shelve It or Shove It, but stopped doing that because I wasn't getting very good selections, and middle grade gets mixed in with picture books and chapter books, which I'm really not that interested in. Why do I like to read and write middle grade? Oh, if you didn't know, I also write middle grade, but don't usually talk about it since that's unpublished and I don't want to put the cart before the proverbial horse. But middle grade can be just as well written as any adult book you find, especially in the upper middle grade category. Think Percy Jackson by Rick Riordan, or His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, or The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. My favorite middle grade books are pure escapist fantasy adventures. So I love me some portal fantasy. Middle grade also tends to focus on friendships, whereas romantic plot points don't usually start appearing until you get to young adult, which makes sense because of hormones and all of that. Now, many adaptations of middle grade into film age up the characters and include some sort of romantic subplot, Percy Jackson. So keep that in mind if you decide to read a middle grade based on a movie or whatever. So anyway, I thought I'd go over some of the middle grades I've read over the past year or so, and I've decided not to bless or zap middle grade because obviously I am not the target audience. I just will talk about the books and maybe my experience reading them. First up is The Glitter Trap by Barbara Bronner, the first in the OMG series. OMG means Oh My Godmother. The story is about Lacey Ungerwear. Yes, rhymes with lacy underwear. A 6th grade girl who gets glitter glue in her hair and her fairy godmother gets stuck in the glitter glue. The fairy godmother's wings are broken and Lacey gets to use her magic wand. It is a very, very light read with plenty of humor that I guess may appeal to the target audience, and the book is heavily illustrated. Now, I should never have picked this book up because it is lower middle grade and was much too young for me, at least for the books that I enjoy in middle grade. But I could totally see young girls liking it, even though the humor didn't really land for me and the plot was a little simple. Next, Problems in Prague by Alba Arango, by an author I met at the Las Vegas Book Festival. It is about a boy named J.J. Bennett and his best friend Maggie. Both 12 years old, their parents work for the CIA, not as secret agents, but more, I think, in research. Anyway, the kids get involved in an espionage plot, but have to keep their involvement secret from their parents. So yeah, it's sort of like a mini James Bond for kids, or thrillers for kids. Think Jack Ryan or Spy Kid. I thought it was fun, but I personally prefer my thrillers a little more high octane. It didn't go over the top like a James Bond or, I don't know, Tom Clancy, James Patterson. And I would have kind of preferred if it went more over the top. But I can also imagine the target audience would love the fantasy of kids as spies or secret agents. I would call these cozy thrillers if such a thing exists. So I was very pleased to have enjoyed Alba Aranga's novel. Next, The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. If you know anything about Russian folklore or have played Dungeons & Dragons, you'll probably heard of Baba Yaga, the evil witch who lives in a hut that travels about on chicken legs. That's the title of the book. I thoroughly enjoyed this story, inspired by the Baba Yaga legend, only reinterpreted as the Baba Yagas being a group of grim reapers who help the dead pass on to the next life, who of course live in these magic houses with chicken legs. The story is about the granddaughter of Baba Yaga, a young girl named Marinka. She's in training to be the next Baba Yaga, but only wants to be a normal girl. I really did enjoy this debut novel and totally see why it has gotten all the praise that's been heaped on it. It's dark, but not too dark. It's funny, but not over the top. And I would say it leans more to the poignant and thoughtful side than escapist fantasy adventure. But I do highly recommend this book. Next, A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This was recommended by fellow booktuber Gavin of How to Train Your Gavin. It's the first book in a series of books about three sisters. Betty, who is the youngest, Charlie, the middle child, and Fliss, the eldest. We get mostly things from Charlie's point of view. Now, this is a type of fantasy I gravitate to. The three sisters live in a small village on an island and are not allowed to leave the island. Their mother is dead, their father is in prison, and they live with their grandmother, who is strict and hides secrets. They find out they are under a curse and are heirs to three magic objects, one for each of the girls. A carpet bag, a set of nesting dolls, and a mirror. Each object has a special kind of magic. They need to rescue their father and break the family curse. I loved this story. The objects reminded me of the Ruth Chu book, What the Witch Left, which I read when I was in elementary school and really stuck with me. I also got elements of Lemony Snicket in terms of the sibling relationships and being in a very dark situation, though nowhere near as dark as Lemony Snicket. Again, A Pinch of Magic was exactly the type of middle grade novel I can fall in love with. Next, The Last Kids on Earth by Max Brailer. Okay, I admit it. I got the book because I saw the adaptation on Netflix. However, it turned out to be a much younger middle grade than the type I usually like. It is very heavily illustrated, and I can totally see why kids would fall in love with the illustrations. It's a post-apocalyptic zombie novel about a boy named Jack who is trying to rescue June, his longtime crush. He and his friend Quint build a fortress. They trick out a monster mobile. He tames a monster for his pet. There's a lot of fun stuff in this, but I just could not suspend my imagination enough to make any of it seem believable. Again, it was probably aimed a little too young for me to enjoy, but it is a hugely popular book, and I can totally see why it would be for the target age group, lower middle grade. Next, Kiki's Delivery Service by Aiko Kadano. Yes, I decided to read this one because of the great anime movie of the same name by Miyazaki. Now, if you've seen Howl's Moving Castle and read the Diana Wynne Jones book it was based off of, you know that Miyazaki totally reimagines the source material, which is what you get with Kiki's Delivery Service, so don't expect the novel to be anything like the anime movie. Also, the book was originally written in Japanese, so the English version is a translation, and there's always this question in my mind if the translation really captured the original, the tone and the cadence. Now, I did enjoy this novel a lot, but it is a very simple, quiet story. Not a great fantasy adventure or has wild magic or anything like that. The story is about Kiki, who comes from a long line of witches where each generation has less powers than the last. Until we get to Kiki, whose only magic is being able to fly on a broom. When witches come of age, which is here about age 12, they must leave their family and find a town or city without a witch to set up practice. So Kiki leaves her parents with her black cat familiar Gigi, and she sets up shop in the town that hadn't had a witch in a very long time and don't seem to be really excited about her, maybe some being a little bit suspicious. But her only magic is to fly on her broom, so obviously she sets up a delivery service. Like I said, this is a small, quiet story, kind of coming of age, being separated from your parents, trying to find a place in society. It is a very sweet story. So there you have it, 6 very different middle grade novels. If you are an adult reader who is not sure if they could appreciate middle grade of the ones I covered, I'd recommend The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson, or maybe A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison, or maybe even Kiki's Delivery Service by Aiko Kadano. If you are a middle grade reader, I seriously doubt you are, but welcome to the channel. If you are actually a middle grade aged person, I'd recommend all the books. Go ahead and check them all out. And please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you are not already. So, should I do more videos on middle grade books? I don't know. I really don't think middle grade appeals to many viewers of this channel, but I could be wrong. So let me know in the comments if you want to see more middle grade here. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.